Cam, we have something serious we need to talk about here because Cody's making me extremely self-conscious here.
I said 2 words and it will be silent. Then he'll just look over me. He goes, you know what? I don't want to be the guy I didn't even say anything again. He's just, it's on his conscience,
Well, it seems to be a pattern. And I guess the best way to start it is just a couple of years ago when the news of the XFL and the AAF came out. I was extremely skeptical. I guess I'll put it that way. Kevin and Cody were just straight up excited because if you put
eat it up, baby.
If you put 6 dudes out on a field in the middle of, I don't know, let's just say Darien to split the difference between some of our stations. You put 6 guys in the middle of the field on Darien and you televise it and they're just slinging a football around. Kevin and Cody are probably going to consume that.
And if they can just be playing on their knees with one arm behind their back.
Yeah, they love football. But I was skeptical about the AAF and the XFL, and I don't want to be the guy that's pessimistic about things, but when I look at the overarching way you're going about putting your league together, what was the AAF? The AAF was just a conglomerate wanting to get out there as the spring league before the XFL got out there. They had the starter uniforms. Cody, they had starter uniform. Mm-hmm. Like the jackets we used to wear in elementary school in the 90s, starter.
A lot of lower income kids live off starter, but thank you.
The starter uniforms, Cody. You know what I'm saying?
Next thing you know, you're gonna start making fun of Shaq, stuff like that.
And the Starburys.
Yeah.
And the Starburys, they had starter uniforms.
Some kids have to wear that stuff, man.
We're not talking about low income children. I'm just
trying to
Cody.
make you feel bad.
You're not gonna do it. I'm gonna fight through it. We're not talking about low income children, and we're not talking about Save the Whales, and we're not talking about pay teachers more. We're talking about
because you hate all that stuff because it's new.
No, we're talking about starter is literally the definition of not new, old.
Yeah,
right. We're talking about a new sport. Look, Cam's just judgmental stare at me right now. It's just shaking me to my core. But we're talking about a sports league that was trying to come out and be significant in America, and the brand apparel they chose to go with was starter, not even Russell or
FUBU
or Puma. It was starter, right? And so that's what comes out. The uniforms look like you bought them off the sales rack at one of the thrift stores. You know what I'm talking about, Cody? Or where something got messed up in the manufacturing warehouse, and so now they're all for sale for $5 a pop.
If they did a uniform logo with Jinko, would you watch?
That's kind of what
just overly baggy.
That's kind of what it looked like. But I mean, just from the jump, the AAF was extremely rushed, and the play wasn't great. The coaching wasn't great. It was just kind of meh. And the television deals they didn't get right. It was just not good, and so that failed. I mean, Cody, they had teams that were based in Orlando having to practice in Georgia because their insurance policy didn't cover them practicing in Florida.
It was new league first year, man. You were just judging them off.
It was when your buddy comes in and goes, bro, I got a great investment opportunity. You can get in as a ground floor investor and we'll make this happen right now. I need you to sign your name right here, co-sign on this bank loan for me. And this thing's going to go to the moon. And then it doesn't. And then you're left holding the bag. That's what the AAF was.
They were practicing in Camden, actually. Huh?
The XFL did it a little better. I thought the uniforms were better. The level of play was better. You actually had a few guys from the XFL move on. PJ Walker was the one. The level of play was better. The coaching was better. And they had the television deals right. I think they did the stadiums right because you weren't going to put 80,000 people in a stadium to watch XFL games. So a few of them went to the smaller venue stadiums. I thought that looked cool on TV. But still, my biggest question around that was, do you have the sustainability for a whole 365 days of just consuming football when there is so much stuff? We've talked about this before, Cam, the sports calendar, right? What's the sports calendar? In January, you come in and you have the end of college football season and NFL playoffs going into the Super Bowl. After the Super Bowl, you go into March Madness, college basketball. As you start getting towards the end of March Madness and college basketball, baseball's picking up, and you have the Masters coming up in golf, right? So there's kind of a sports calendar going through there. And then as you get into the summer, it lulls a little bit because it's just baseball during that time, but then the NBA is getting into their playoffs in June during a regular season, right? Not a COVID season. You're getting typically early or late June for the finals?
Early June.
early
Yeah,
June
early.
finals, and then once the finals are over, you're getting into football season. Then you go through football season, basketball picks back up. So we have a sports calendar. My biggest question for a spring football league was, would it have the fan base where you're taking time out of your day on the weekends to watch this game for 3 hours? I didn't think it was there for the casual sports fans. For the crazy footballaholics like Cody, sure. But for the casual sports fan, which is where all of these sports leagues are going for and why they can sign the quadrillion-dollar contracts with television and radio, because we will take time out of our day to consume those, I didn't think that was necessarily there. But my question to you is this, Cam, because we were talking about the overtime league yesterday. My question to you is, if I have concerns and my concerns outweigh the promise of it, does that then make me a hater?
No, it doesn't make you a hater.
Thank you.
Cam,
No.
come on, dude. He just
I
tried
wouldn't say,
to
no, he's not a hater.
that he wasn't.
You know, I always agree with you, Cody, but nah, I wouldn't make it. It doesn't make him a hater. I'm not
I
gonna
think
say
if I was
that.
just like, you can't play football outside of the months of August through January, you're playing football in March, it's sacrilegious, then that would probably make me a hater. But
No,
because I had genuine concerns about the sustainability of something, I don't believe that in turn makes me a hater.
I wasn't there to watch it succeed. I was just there to watch football. That's it. It's the reason why I wasn't gonna watch it wasn't just because, hey, they're probably not gonna make it. You're wishing they're gonna make it from the get go. I don't even
But
think
I'll say
you
this,
wish they were gonna make it.
I'm a much bigger college football fan than I am an NFL fan.
Yeah,
Much bigger. But I will still consume a lot of NFL on Sundays, right? I still love NFL football, right? But my question to you is this. I find and that's the reason we watch sports, is because it's compelling, right? There's different storylines, and it's sports we love to watch, and it's compelling. My question to you is this. If you're watching, because you're a Broncos fan, if you're watching Saints Buccaneers, that's a compelling football game, right? You know the storylines. You have Brady versus Breeze. You have Buccaneers Saints. It's a division game. You have the Fox announcers on the game. Watching that, you have no stakes in that game because you're a Broncos fan, but it's compelling, right? Watching an XFL game between the Guardians and the Tampa Bay, what were they, the Vipers?
Vipers. Yep,
Was there anything compelling about that?
110%.
What was compelling about that?
Hard hits and touchdown dimes, baby.
And what's
That's the only
probably true is there are people who agree with you on that. They're like, it's football. There were 200-pound humans hitting other 200-pound humans running 4.4s. It's really fun to watch. And I do think the quality of it was getting better. You were definitely working out some shakes, because if remember at the beginning of this season, who I'm completely blanking on his name now, the third string quarterback that won the national championship for Ohio State, Cam.
Cardell Jones.
Cardell Jones was like the league MVP through the first couple of weeks, and then he was like the fourth string quarterback on his team by like week 5. So they were definitely working through some bumps there. And also, I think, did we combine a AAF team with a XFL team there? Wasn't the Tampa Bay Vipers an AAF team?
No. Let me Google.
I don't know.
I think it might have been, but I could be completely wrong. But
AAF Tampa Bay team.
Listen, there's the XFL is still in the hopper. It might be coming back. I don't think it failed because it wasn't being watched. I think all indications are, if Kevin's listening, Kevin can come in here and hop in on this. I think all indications are that it was starting to move in the right direction in terms of it started off really hot because everybody's going to watch the first week, then it tailed off, and then you actually started to develop a little bit of a fan base. But then obviously COVID-19 hit, and I think that has more to do with it not being back than anything. But yesterday, I don't know that I was necessarily hating against this overtime league, Cam. My questions I thought were legitimate ones, like where is the monetary value coming from? Because overtime's not doing this. What's the question?
There was no Tampa Bay team. There was the Orlando Apollos. Remember this?
In the AAF?
Yep.
Was that Spurrier's team?
Spurrier's
yeah,
team,
that was
yes.
Spurrier's team. They're the ones who claimed the championship.
Yeah,
Another
yeah,
team
you're
from
saying that,
Orlando
yeah.
claiming a championship. But Cam, my question was, where's the money going to come from? Because make no mistake, overtime's not doing this out of the kindness of their heart because they care about they might say that in some of the statements, and Carmelo Anthony can say it until he's blue in the face, but they're not doing this out of the kindness of their hearts. They're doing this because they realize that there is a gap. There is a area for them to fill a void, right? Where they say, nobody's making money in this. Let's hop in and make money. And it's going to cost us $100,000 a player to make it worthwhile to them. But somebody needs to jump in here and do this before someone else does. And so Overtime has done that. And I got to think the revenue stream is going to come from sponsorships is going to be the number one, because I don't know that any TV deals are going to get picked up, because it's still high school basketball, right? I don't know that any TV deals are going to get picked up for that. But do you think, Cam, there will be a nudge, like say they put it on a website or they put it on Twitch, they put it on something like that. Do you think there will be enough viewership from kids? Because I mean, it is wild. I mean, people sitting in the cars might not do it, but their kids probably do. They watch people play video games.
Yeah, I mean, it might be enough
tens
viewership.
of thousands of people watching them at the same time.
No, I'll watch
Video
Stone
games.
Mountain every day. Yeah.
Video games. So, I mean, do you think there's enough high school basketball players who would take time out of their days on Saturdays to watch these videos to make it worthwhile? Because, I mean, it's the business we're in, right? Like, we are a sponsorship-driven business, so we have to get enough listeners in to get sponsors interested in coming on with us. Do you think there is enough sponsorship opportunities inside of that Overtime league with these kids to make it worthwhile for big time sponsors who can spend millions of dollars, because that's what's going to take to keep this thing sustainable?
It's like a yes or no answer. It could be a hit or miss. Like, they're gonna basically have to rely on kids that are like young to watch it, because I'm a basketball watcher, but personally I wouldn't watch it. That's just me.
Does that make Cam a hater, Cody?
Hater. Hardcore.
No, I'm not hating. I love basketball. I watch FIBA. I watch everything. It's
Haters
just
So, like,
No, they're
how many G League games do you consume?
no. I actually watch G League. My friend is in the G League. My old
How many
teammate.
G League games do you watch that your friend's not involved in?
Very few though. I watch a few just because of
Why you
those
hating
young
on G
guys
League,
hanging
man?
there.
I'm just asking. I ask a question. That's not
But
hating.
the G Leagues, it's hard to catch them too. You have to pay for some G League games. They're not necessarily televised. So
Accessible.
just like Overtime, it's like, okay, how are they gonna do this? If they do it on Twitch, of course you're gonna have the younger audience, but the older audience, they're not gonna log on Twitch to
They're
watch
not trying
basketball games.
to go after their older audience, I don't think.
Well, and that's what Ben was saying too. Is, and I don't inherently disagree with them. Is they're not going after me and you, Cody. They're
Nope.
going after the 14-year-old, the 13-year-old who wants to do it and wants to watch someone maybe their age playing at that level. But I mean, is the 3-on-3 basketball league still a thing?
It was over, yeah.
It was. I think they're gonna bring it back after like
I think so,
COVID
too.
and stuff.
That was
Yeah,
pretty popular, yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
that was
that was
fun.
one of the ones that I had seen actually have, I don't know if I'd call it sustained success,
Mhm.
but it didn't immediately fold after a year.
I just like to watch the highlights all the time, yeah.
Well, that was my other point too, is from this, we're all looking at the just live views for these games potentially. And really where they're going to get a ton of their views is from the highlights and turning these guys into superstars by posting their highlights from the games. Because the games themselves are just going to be the highest, and this is if it all works out, the games themselves will just be the highest level basketball games. And there's not going to be any set teams or anything like that, but they would just be the highest level basketball games of high school.
Yeah.
And so that's what you would be consuming, which, I mean, to be fair, would probably be better than 30-40% of college basketball games because of just the skill talent that you're going to have in these high school guys. But are you watching Valparaiso basketball? Like, because that's probably like the level you're going to get for some of these games. It's just, I find it fascinating, but I don't believe asking questions and realizing some of the potential pitfalls that this company could run into makes me a hater.
Hating hard.
I mean, I definitely know there's some people in the company here that, especially on the sales side, that get real upset with me because they're like, listen, we're going to go to the top of Mount Everest. We're going to broadcast live because they're doing an event. I know a guy, he knows some folks that live on Mount Everest, and we're going to broadcast live from Mount Everest because they have 6 people that are climbing to the top, and we want to be there to support them. And so we're going to broadcast live. And then when I put up there, we're going to have oxygen tanks, we're going to have clothing that appropriate for that, then all of a sudden I'm a hater and I just get in the way of the fun stuff the sales department likes to do. So I get it.
When have you come out and say, how about we just do call-ins?
Yeah. Can we just FaceTime them when they get up there, and we'll be in the studio cozy and warm in South Georgia? I get it. I'm not trying to be a hater, but if you don't blindly support it, does that mean you're a hater? in Cody's opinion.
Yes, 110%.
There you go. Cody Queen dropping the definition of what a hater means to him right here. I want to come back. There's a ton of huge news stories out in the sports world today, a pretty horrifying story developing at LSU. I want to dive into that when we come back here. Second Down on ESPN Radio. We'll be right back after this. Second down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. 2 locations in Savannah to take care of all your uniform needs. Troubling story developing, I guess, coming to a head in Baton Rouge. Former LSU football coach Les Miles, during his tenure, has been accused of multiple sexual harassment claims from former female student aides and female members of the athletic staff. According to an investigative report first reported on by USA Today, Miles was accused of contacting female students via Facebook and text, meeting them off campus alone, and kissing at least one of them. He's also accused of inappropriate behavior towards female students. But the report, LSU did an internal investigation. The report did not find that Miles had sexual relationships with any of the women, according to an investigative report released by the university on Thursday. Athletic department staff accused Miles of saying that female student employees who helped lure top recruits to the football team needed to have a certain look, quote, and further implying that meant attractive, blonde, fit, according to the report. And if existing student employees didn't fit that description, they should be given fewer hours or fired. USA Today, again, has done some pretty phenomenal reporting on this. Hughes Blackwell, a law firm, was then hired this past year to do an in-depth report and investigation of these allegations and of the handling of them by LSU itself. So it's not just Les Miles on the hook here. It's the entire university of LSU, going all the way up to the president and associate athletic directors in Baton Rouge there. But really troubling stuff. This is from interim LSU president Tom Galligan. He says, we are imposing a 30-day suspension without pay for Verge Osbury, associate athletic director, during which Mr. Osbury will undergo mandatory domestic and sexual violence training. From this point forward, failure to report will result in disciplinary action. He said the Hughes Blackwell report included 18 recommendations about how the Title IX and the reporting process inside LSU could be improved, and he plans to act on all 18 recommendations. Then a quote from the Hughes Blackwell law firm, quote, for years, LSU's policies around mandatory reporting have been unclear. We're not the first people to note that and flag this issue to the leadership of the university. Seemingly nothing has been done to remedy up to this point. And if you go to USA Today, if you go to ESPN.com, there's a ton of reporting on this. And then LSU on their school website has actually just released the full investigation. Multiple students inside of the LSU athletic department reporting to their higher-ups about this, and the higher-ups going to their higher-ups inside the athletic department to report these allegations, and nothing coming of it. I mean, even I want to get her title right. Director of football recruiting Sharon Lewis, she reported serious alleged misconduct by Miles spanning nearly 7 years beginning in 2009. Lewis's report to the deputy Title IX director included Miles' comments about his preferred look for female student workers and that he took a more direct role in the hiring of those student workers. After the incident, athletic director Joe Oliva ordered Miles to have no contact with student workers and required additional sexual harassment training for all athletic employees. So this was pre the investigation that we were just getting the in-depth reporting on now, Cody. But if you have a football coach and arguably the most powerful man on your campus, and you can't allow him to be near student workers, do you think maybe we're valuing a sport over the health of our students in that situation?
Oh, they are 110%. This terrifies me. This terrifies me, having 2 kids that are eventually going to go to college, to hear stuff like this, how the way this man acted, supposed to represent the university, and the fullest,
just
man.
To be clear, alleged right now.
Alleged, yes. I'm not going to say he's guilty 100%. I believe in the legal justice system.
Well, I don't know that any
someone.
I don't know that any charges have been filed in
Okay,
this
so
situation
no charges
either, but
right
it's just an investigation and the findings from a law firm that LSU contracted out to come in and investigate what had happened.
Well, hopefully we get down to it, but from having a daughter,
it's horrifying.
From having a daughter and having someone have a conduct like this, it kind of turns my stomach. You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna value if they find out something does happen, and I'm just hoping to God it doesn't get swept underneath. Hey, the report comes out now, and then it gets forgotten afterwards. I feel like that happens quite a bit. Les Miles, if this is true, shame on you. Shame on the university for not having the procedures for it to be stopped, for it to be reported or anything like that. Because from what my understanding is, these females with this happening to didn't really have a way or a system to report it and say something, apparently. So I don't understand what was going through their mind in the first place for not having kind of procedures to help them. But it kind of baffles me the way USA brought this out. Like you're saying, they're doing a great job. And the more I read it and the more you were talking about it, the more I was kind of taken back from it.
Well, and Cam, it's not one story, one allegation, and then go from there. It's like we said, over 7 years of allegations, 2 different quote independent inquiries from 2 separate law firms. The first one is being alleged that maybe they weren't able to be completely neutral in the situation based on who and how they were contracted out to do this investigation. But just some of the stuff, some of the allegations in there, asking student workers to put their phone numbers under aliases inside of his cell phone and promising them to help with their careers once they got out of school. I mean, 18, 19-year-old women, it's horrifying to see someone in power do something like that if this is true. Along with that, the fact that you have an athletic director who, versus if he found out any of this was true, immediately firing someone, decided, all right, well, let's just not let you have contact with these student workers, and then we'll go about our business. And reports are coming out now that Joe Alleva realized that these allegations were so serious that he was taking a serious look at firing Les Miles after they won the national championship in 2012. So like that's how serious he realized these allegations were, but then didn't act on them. I mean, just a lot of different storylines here, Cam, but the hope now is for LSU that this will be fixed immediately and the people who need to be punished will be punished.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It seems like they swept it under the rug for about 8 years. That's what it seems like. And then also, as a university, how you allow your coach, even the program, to conduct yourself with doing stuff like that. Like you're sending, like people send their daughters off to college. My sister's in college, 18, 19, and you're basically trying to persuade them, well, I can help you do this with my money, or I can help you do this to be successful. And that's not what college is about.
Right.
And just doing that doing that in the wrong way, it's disgusting hearing that, and people should be fired.
Yeah, and a statement from USA Today, Taylor Porter was the first law firm that investigated some of the allegations. Said Taylor Porter concluded that Miles' conduct was inappropriate, but he deserved to be reprimanded for it, but that it did not constitute prohibited sexual harassment under the law. Hughes Blackwell, the new law firm that investigated, disagreed. According to its report, the results of the investigation at the time were communicated to 3 members of LSU's Board of Supervisors, who accepted Taylor Porter's findings and recommendations and took no further actions. And then 2 months later, Alleva wrote to then LSU President F. King Alexander that the school's legal counsel with the recommendation that LSU fire Les Miles for his conduct. I mean, and now he's the head football coach at Kansas.
It's what happens, and proven once again in sports. As long as you're winning, they're going to try to keep you and sweep some stuff underneath the rug. As long as you're winning, if not, they're going to find a way to get you out and all that stuff, and try to get out of your contract. But if you're winning, man, stuff like this, it makes me sick. Stuff like this gets swept under the rug.
Yeah, and here's a quote from Joe Alleva, and this is the first time I've seen this. Again, this reporting, LSU had. They revealed all the findings today, had a board meeting in which students were able to join via Zoom, and I think that filled up quickly.
Yeah.
But Ross Dellinger, I know Heather Dinich are doing a great job, as well as some of the local newspapers, of keeping this up to date. But this is a quote obtained from Joe Alleva about the decision to whether or not to fire Les Miles. He said, quote, "I want us to think about which scenario is worse for LSU, explaining why we let him go or explaining why we let him stay."
It's,
I mean, to me, that seems real simple. We
Yep.
explain why we let him go.
exactly.
If you're ever having to explain why you let someone stay and it doesn't have to do with on the field stuff, then you're getting into real murky waters, Cam.
Yeah, MOE. Like it's money over everything, man. If you win and you're making money, they keep you. And that's what it is. It's all a money thing. If he was losing and the allegations were happening then, none of this would be popping up right now. Everything probably would have been spilled out. But since he was winning, they kind of masked it for years, and well, all of a sudden, more evidence is coming out now.
And then just some of the fallout from it. Miles did not get fired for this. He was currently the fourth highest paid college football coach in America. LSU issued him a written reprimand and the counseling requirement that he received, and a directive for him. Again, you kept a guy on staff, reprimanded him, and told him that he can have no one-on-one contact, calls, or text with female student workers. So you realize what he was doing was bad enough that he can't have one-on-one contact with people of the opposite sex, but it's still okay for him to be the football coach. I mean,
Can't trust them around female students, which you have a campus full of female students. Just so, yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts. And Lewis told Hughes Blackwell that she became so distressed by the lack of support from administration that she had a mental breakdown and received mental health treatment that LSU paid for. So damning stuff coming out of LSU today. We'll keep you up to date on 3 and Out about all of that as it comes out. Because again, just ongoing today, the report released just a couple of hours ago. We're diving into it here, but 3 and Out, the guys will dive into some more coming up. We got more to come here on Second Down on ESPN Radio. SEC Network analyst Cole Kubelik going to join 3 and Out coming up at the top of the hour. Make sure you stick around for that. But Cam, have you had a chance to consume Todd McShay's mock draft 3.0 yet?
No, he's killing me with all these drafts. We were just on 2.0.
I know you got Kuipers and you got McShay's. I mean, those are the two holy grails when it comes to the mock drafts at ESPN. But Todd McShay, he loves him some quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And he's got 4 straight going off the board in this draft. Of course, Trevor Lawrence going number 1. Zach Wilson, number 2 to the New York Jets. Then he has the Panthers jumping in front of the Falcons, snagging Justin Fields, and the Falcons taking the 4th quarterback on their board at 4th overall, Trey Lance.
My boy!
Out of North Dakota State, number 4 overall in the draft. I mean, Cam, just initial reaction to that.
Oh, reach? Like,
yeah.
If that happens, just trade back. Yeah, just trade back if that happens and get some assets.
I mean, I'm 1,000% with Cam right there, Cody, because you're at 4th overall, and just I understand quarterbacks are the most important position in any sport, period. Like, it's the most important position in sports. Your 4th pick in the draft, and you're reaching for the 4th player on your board at a position. Like, literally every other position still has the number 1 guy on your board available. Kyle Pitts, a tight end, still available. Jamar Chase, wide receiver, still available. Offensive lineman, Penei Sewell, still available. Micah Parson, still available right there. Patrick Surtain, still available. All the number 1s across positions are still available, and you're reaching for the 4th guy at quarterback, and you're seeing all the turmoil and all like the back and forth this offseason with quarterbacks on the move. You still have Matt Ryan under contract for at least a year, probably 2 more years, unless you trade him. I mean, the Falcons pick Trey Lance 4th overall, and he's the 4th quarterback off the board. That is a reach beyond reach, Cody.
It's gonna be riots in the street in Atlanta. Yeah.
No, there won't. No, there won't. We will sit there and we'll just accept it as Atlanta sports fans. Well, yeah, it pretty much makes sense.
Beer sales will go through the roof.
Oh yeah, did you see that? Did you see that that chart that came out? I want to credit who put the chart out, but they said Major League Baseball teams that consume the fan bases that consume the most beer. The White Sox were number 1, Atlanta Braves number 2. Fan base. We're putting down some brewskis.
There you go.
When you're up big on the Dodgers and the NLCS and you just blow it.
It's a reach though. It's when I saw this.
What I want is
yikes.
I want Kevin Costner from what's that we call Draft Day?
Draft Day, yeah.
Yeah, I want Kevin Costner from Draft Day in that position. Terry Fontenot on like 3 different phones once 3 quarterbacks go off the board in front of them, calling the Bengals saying, hey, how much is Penei Sewell worth to you? Because we got 4 other teams on the phone right now that are ready to trade up to number 4 and draft Penei Sewell, and you're going to be sitting there. I mean, you could take Slater. I don't know if you've watched Slater's tape, but he's no Penei Sewell. You're looking at your left tackle for the next decade protecting Joe Burrow. How much is he worth? How much is he worth to you, Bengals? And you get them to trade up 1 spot, and you drop back, and you only have to drop down 1 spot, and you can acquire some draft picks that way. I mean, Cody, I want Terry Fontenot on the phone with every team in the NFL if 3 quarterbacks go off the board there, because what then becomes your immediate position of need if you're the Atlanta Falcons? I would say corner.
Well, if the Bengals try to trade Jalen Davis for the Bengals, not a bad corner at all. Try to get him with the trade. Jalen Davis, that's your corner need. Trade back, get another player that you can get. Man, I'm telling you, even a Darius Phillips for the Bengals. They got 2 pretty good corners that you guys could trade for. You know what I mean? It'd be a perfect trade.
I've seen scenarios where the Falcons trade back with the Patriots and draft Mac Jones and like accumulate picks that way if the Patriots love a quarterback in the top 4, which I think is weird because I don't believe the Patriots are going to be a team that's going to jump up inside the top 4. That's just not how they operate. But
it'd be a surprising fun draft if they did.
If you believe quarterback is your position of need, but the 3 top ones off your board, like you know, like Lawrence is on the top of everybody's board, but you already have him crossed off because the Jaguars are going to take him, even though BJ's freaking out because reports are coming out that the Jaguars have already used 2 out of their allocated 5 Zoom calls to talk to Zach Wilson. So BJ's kind of freaking out. I kind of think it's just due diligence on their part, but BJ's kind of losing his mind thinking that Zach Wilson might be a starting quarterback in Jacksonville. I think it's 1,000% locked up
Yeah, I think
that
so too.
it's Trevor Lawrence, but he's number one on everybody's boards. And if he's not, it's Zach Wilson. So you have Lawrence, Wilson, Fields probably. And so if you cross off those three and you're looking at your fourth overall guy at that pick, trade back.
Yes.
I mean, you can still get, if you feel like you need a quarterback and you want to take a shot on him in the second round, you're going to get, Kyle Trask is going to be there. Kyle Trask isn't going to go in the first round. If you want to trade back and draft a quarterback midway in the first round, Mac Jones is probably still going to be there.
Man, that'd be
Especially if the Panthers trade up for Fields, because they're the ones outside of the Patriots that I have seen him slotted to the most. I mean, Cam.
Don't let that happen, Lord, please.
and now apparently the Seahawks are fielding offers for Russell Wilson.
Yep.
And you know which team is one of the teams that he is allowing his no trade clause to be waived to? The New Orleans Saints.
Great.
So potentially, Falcons fans, you could be looking at Russell Wilson in New Orleans, Justin Fields in Carolina, and Tom Brady in Tampa Bay.
Years and years we have said at the station it's the most spicy division in all of NFL.
Or I don't know if it's the most spicy. I've still seen the NFC West. I think
right now, but
consistently,
it's usually
How
NFC.
spicy would that be, though? Good gosh,
Extra
Russell.
spicy, man. Habanero.
I think this year it was really spicy. I don't know how spicy the NFC South has been in the past. Because I mean, for a long time, you had
For a while there was 3 MVPs in it.
Yeah.
Drew Brees was a Super Bowl MVP. He was never a regular season.
Well,
I might as well just call him
you're right.
MVP.
Dang, man,
He performs at it.
a few times.
Yeah, he has.
Oh man,
He has. But no, I mean, you had Cam Newton and Matt Ryan and Drew Brees in there, but you also had like Jameis. Who, I mean, that's fine. It's Jameis, but I mean, you look out to the NFC West, just their defenses and some of the quarterbacks they have out there, especially now, that's going to be nasty.
you'd have no respect for Goff. You're just like, especially now.
Yeah, no, Jared Goff,
yeah.
not a massive fan, but now old Matty Stafford's out there. I think it's going to be fun. But man, Tom McShay just messing with a lot of Falcons fans, and now I've seen a few folks on Get Up this morning saying that, oh, Trey Lance to the Falcons, perfect fit. Can sit and develop behind Matt Ryan. When was the last time a top 4 quarterback got drafted and sat?
They got to stop saying this. If you draft in the top 5, they play immediately or in a couple of games.
Here's my other question. How much time do we have in this segment?
What pick was we got about 2-3 more minutes. And what pick was Aaron Rodgers? Because that's the last one that
22.
I know. Exactly.
He's
That's 22. The last one that I know
Yeah. And he was sitting behind
Jordan Rodgers
Brett
sat behind
Favre.
Aaron Rodgers, or not Jordan Rodgers. Jordan Love sat behind Aaron Rodgers this year, but he wasn't a top 4 pick.
No, he was like 18 or something like that. 19?
I think 10.
Was he?
20
Jordan Love?
something. Jordan Love was
Up
20
to
something,
him.
I think.
That's why everyone was losing their mind, is because the Packers traded up and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
they had to get a weapon for Aaron Rodgers? Nope. We're about to get his backup quarterback. That's not going to take a snap in the playoffs.
Let's see.
I actually think, now we're getting off on another tangent, that
he was
I think only one
pick 26.
I think only one, was it 26?
Mhm.
I don't know what. I think only one Packers draft pick took a snap in the playoffs this year.
It's embarrassing.
No.
And it was a running back out of Boston College.
Yeah. Chris Dillon or something.
We don't have to worry about that. But I want to do this on Monday. I want to go through it, research it this weekend. And because, again, potentially you're looking at the 4th quarterback off the board. If Todd McShay is right, the 4th quarterback off the board would be to Atlanta and the 4th best quarterback, potentially, right? I want to go back and see when was the last time the top 4 quarterbacks in the draft hit, like where you were like, okay, that guy had a pretty solid career. So we'll do that on Monday. We'll take a look at that, because I think potentially you're looking at 2 of the teams getting their quarterbacks of the future and 2 of the teams regretting this 2 or 3 years from now. So we'll dive into that on Monday, but we got to take a quick break here. We'll come back. Final segment of Second Down next. All right, here's my question. Just
That's a jam.
it is. I mean, anything Stapleton is a jam. But here's my question over the weekend while we're researching this, Cam. How do you define a successful quarterback versus a bust when you're making them a top draft pick? I mean, would you consider Jameis Winston a bust?
No, I wouldn't say he's a bust.
You started what, 6 or 7 years?
Yeah, I mean he started. He may have had the 30 for 30
year or so. He was battling with Ryan Fitzpatrick. But I mean, I would qualify him as a bust because I believe if you're taking a quarterback number 1 overall, you're trusting that he is going to be your franchise's quarterback for at least the next decade. And that is not the case.
I could give you that, but I mean,
Unless
he went 30 for 30.
Catastrophic injury.
Like
Yeah,
Teddy.
true.
Right.
He went 30 for 30, but he led the league in passing. I don't know if I can call him a bust. I just don't think he
30
lived up
for
to expectations.
33.
But would you consider that a good pick by the Buccaneers?
At the time, I wouldn't argue. It's hard to debate
Of course
that.
not at the time. He was a Heisman winner, and
At the time,
Won
we
a
thought
national
Johnny Manziel was a good
championship?
pick.
You know what? I mean, I don't know if I can call him a bust. I don't know if I can call him a bust. Mitchell Trubisky is like he wins though.
would you consider Carson Wentz a bust?
No, heck no.
I know
He only
you-
had one bad year. He only had one
With
bad
Nick
year.
Foles.
I mean, he only had one bad year. If he didn't get hurt, he would have won
Argument
MVP.
goes out the window when you go.
Yeah, that's true. We start getting a little squeaky.
He would have won MVP if he didn't get hurt though. So I can't call him a bust.
Should have, but didn't.
He was like 3 games away from winning MVP. Literally.
That's something to keep in mind as we're looking over these drafts over the weekend. We'll dive into that on Monday. Big show coming up today on 3 and Out, though, as we get you ready for the weekend. Cole Kubelik, ESPN reporter, going to jump on. He had some interesting comments about the SEC East on the Paul Feinbaum show. We're going to ask Cole about those. He's also been on the call for some SoCon games. He was at Sanford, Western Carolina last week, so we'll talk some SoCon with Cole as well coming up on 3 and Out. That's up next. And then in the 4 o'clock hour, we'll talk to Georgia State Athletic Director Charlie Cobb, who was recently named to the College Football Playoff Selection Committee for the 2021 season. So we'll dive into that with Charlie Cobb as well coming up on 3 and Out. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us this week. If you miss any portion of the show, you can check it out on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or SoundCloud. For Christian or for Cody and Cam, this is Christian. We'll talk to you on Monday.